just want to start this video off by saying that I am a Swiftie. I have been since I was about 9 years old in 2006. I can tell you in vivid detail the day I heard my very first Taylor Swift song. I could tell you the first, middle, and last name of my classroom peer who showed me my very first Taylor Swift song. If you were to go back to the earliest videos on this channel, you can see a whole wall of Taylor Swift everything on my wall. The literal very first song I ever wrote as a kid, which I still have, is a song inspired by and for Taylor Swift, which I really hope to be able to show her someday in all of its cheesy glory. I am a Swiftie, and I mean absolutely no hate to anyone with the opinions in this video. Hey Swifties, Danny here, and welcome to my little corner of the internet. As we all prepare for the launch of Red, Taylor's version tomorrow, I wanted to take a second to talk about some of my, controversial opinions about the Taylor versions of Taylor's albums. I have seen a lot of TikToks and other content on other platforms of people, sometimes in jest and sometimes seriously, talking about how they only listen to the Taylor versions of albums and or getting mad at other people for listening to non-Taylor version albums. And I personally completely disagree with this notion. While I completely understand the sentiment, and I think most Swifties who are speaking like this or have this kind of thought process are doing so because they want to support Taylor Swift. But I do honestly think that this sentiment is harmful to the community. First off, not everyone can afford to buy Taylor's new albums, especially if they already own the originals. The past almost 2 years have obviously been super hard on a lot of people, and we don't really know what circumstances somebody is in, and if they can afford to go rebuy, I know that the albums are different, but basically rebuy a product that they already own. Not to mention the fact that basically in the last year-ish, if you're counting Red that's dropping tomorrow, Taylor has released 4 albums. You have Fearless Taylor's version, Red Taylor's version, Folklore, and Evermore in just the past year-ish. And if everyone is not in the greatest financial position, especially if they lost their job or something throughout the pandemic, maybe they spent the money that they could have buying the actual new albums, Folklore and Evermore, and didn't have the money or resources to go and buy the new Taylor's versions of Fearless and Red. And I think that with all that sentiment going around, it can make people who are in those positions feel like they're not really a part of the community, or they're not a true fan, or they're just not welcome with the rest of us because they don't have the ability to do so. So I think that sometimes we need to take a step back and look at how we're speaking and kind of the messages that we're putting out there, and how that might affect an individual person who's just coming across that kind of content. The Taylor version albums are inherently different from the originals. Taylor's voice has changed because she's older now, her voice has matured. The instrumentation is different because it's not being played at the exact same time in the exact same way. There's going to be small differences. And she's even subtly changed a few words here and there through some of the songs. And it is okay that it is different. But we also don't necessarily need to throw away the original. And the original can also bring people comfort. I know personally, I have a memory for every song, every album, every era. They're vivid movies in my head, and they bring me comfort, they bring me joy, they allow me to remember different parts of my childhood, and that's awesome. I don't get that when I listen to the Taylor's versions of any of those albums, because all I end up hearing is like all the little differences, and it just doesn't give me that same feeling. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the Taylor's versions of any of these albums. They're awesome, and they have more details and more songs and, you know, things that were in the vault and all that kind of stuff, and it's super fun. But to try and shame people for continuing to listen to the older versions, I don't think is right. As well as the fact that music purposely embeds itself into our memories in a really specific way. They actually use music to help dementia and Alzheimer's patients unlock memories that they have lost as their diseases progress. Music is so powerful, and we shouldn't negate that power or kind of throw away the original versions of these albums, which are works of art in and of themselves, in a misguided attempt to support Taylor. And I know that the main reason why people do this is because they don't want to support a very specific person. And there are ways to be able to enjoy the original albums without supporting this specific person. You could go to your local thrift shop and see if you can find them and buy them used if you don't already own them. And if you do own them, you can rip them onto your computer and then onto your phone or iPod or whatever device you're listening to and keep them forever in their original versions without giving that specific person any money. Heck, you could literally even torrent these songs at this point, especially if you're already buying the Taylor's version and maybe you want to compare and contrast and you do not want to support specific people earning money. Torrent it. Like, who actually cares? Just torrent it. You're already supporting Taylor by buying the Taylor's version of the album, so does it really matter at that point? And I think half the fun of these Taylor's versions are being able to compare and contrast and see the differences and see how things have evolved and changed with her voice and the instrumentation and all of that stuff. Honestly, that is half the fun of being able to re-listen to these albums in a new way. So I don't understand why we are shaming people for continuing to listen to the original. As Taylor takes back ownership of her music, I hope that we can all, every once in a while, take the time to take a step back and kind of reflect on the things that we're saying and what we're bringing to the community, because I want every Swiftie to be able to enjoy Taylor's music in whatever way, however they see fit, and whatever makes them most comfortable and what makes them happy, so that this community can continue to grow and evolve and welcome in new people, and we can all just connect with each other. I just want to make it clear that this video is not directed at anyone in particular. It was literally just some stuff that I have been seeing as more and more like Swift talk has been coming up on my TikTok and things I'm seeing on Instagram and stuff like that. And it was kind of starting to concern me, because I was even starting to have thoughts of like, oh, if I'm listening to like the original, are people going to be judging me? That kind of stuff. So those are just thoughts that I had, and then I started thinking about, you know, how other people might feel, and that is why I felt compelled to make this video. I would love to keep this conversation going, so if you have any thoughts and opinions on anything that I said in this video, please feel free to sound off in the comment section below. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with a fellow Swiftie, and considering subscribing, because it does help my channel to grow. Grab a box of tissues and enjoy Red Day tomorrow. Bye.